thanks everyone for being here. Obviously, this is a huge day for you all. Congratulations. To the other alumni, both of these individuals were ahead of me at Loyola, and it's incredible to see where they've gone. And I've loved hearing that too. So this is really an awesome experience to come back and get to talk to everybody. My journey since Loyola has been interesting. I think that so at Loyola, I did a lot of sexual assault awareness. I did Spectrum. Obviously, Dr. Karmati talked about that. Gender studies as a minor and incorporated into my major was a huge part of my identity and what I loved to study. So immediately following Loyola, that's exactly what I tried to go into. I went into JVC Northwest in Portland, and I did it for specifically the position that I got, which you're not supposed to do, but I felt like I was a good fit and they agreed. So I did end up aligned with the service site that I wanted, which was a domestic violence shelter called Raphael House. It's gender inclusive. It really is one of those environments that they are very intersectional. They're very aware, and they care about what they do. And it really gave me the hands-on participant support, or the support of actual people who were going through life or death situations, who were survivors in real time. And it gave me that kind of hands-on experience working directly with them. And I loved it. It was an incredible experience, and really kind of took everything I had studied and took it to the next level. One of the things that I found because of my minor, I was able to bring to that role, and then a little bit of domestic violence work that I did following that, was that I had language for a lot of the experiences that people were going through. And not just, this is difficult, but I understand how these things interplay. I understand how these systems work together and are creating the circumstances you're in. And I hear your story. I'm able to validate that. I understand kind of the power of you telling your story. I understand all the pieces that you're working against to do so. And when I was able to talk to those survivors and those participants in my program, what they were finding is that I understood them, I heard them, and I helped them also take on that language to be able to unravel their own experiences and kind of get out of the silence and the shame and the kind of isolation that trapped them. And that was something that I felt directly correlated with my gender studies minor, all of the ways that it was able to, on an interdisciplinary level. I loved that Matt brought that up. Like, I took a literature class, and what literature does is that it teaches you empathy through stories, and it was fiction, right? And that those stories still tell you all about the world around us and how it works. And being able to do that and kind of take those stories into my work was integral to being able to communicate that empathy with the participants of my programs. Following my JV year, I continued in domestic violence work. I came back to Baltimore and I worked with House of Ruth Maryland. And I was confronted with the very, let's just call it the reality of the nonprofit world, which is that it's imperfect and not everyone's understanding is as in-depth, intersectional, and nuanced as, coming from that gender studies minor was. And I struggled with the work in the House of Ruth Maryland, and it was still beautiful work. I loved the people I was working with. I loved the participants I was working with, but the organization as a nonprofit wasn't structured and set up in a way that supported its employees. And so I tried to find what had kept me sustained in my academia, and move that into a different career path. And what I found for me, similarly, actually, Matt, I resonated with a lot of what you said, was the story aspect. I think that stories for me are very powerful. When I was at Loyola, I did a lot of work that centered stories and the power of stories. And I was able to bring that into my work now, which is I work as a program manager for an organization called Health Perspectives Group. They are a patient engagement group. So what we do is we help build patient networks, and we help patients tell their stories of what it is to live with a disease state or take a drug that actually helps them. And I have brought my interests with me into that world. I work with mental health issues like schizophrenia, major depression. I work with HIV. I work with a lot of issues that kind of intersect, as well